Goku reveals his new transformation and explains why he hid it from everyone after the superhero saga. Goku has always been synonymous with overcoming obstacles, from his first steps in Dragon Ball, when he was still just an innocent boy training with Master Roshi, to the present day when he faces cosmic entities such as the gods of destruction and angels. Goku has never abandoned his thirst to become stronger. His desire for growth has never been related only to pride or power. For Goku, fighting is a way of living, of connecting with the world, with his friends, and even with his enemies. Each stronger opponent represents not a threat but an opportunity. And this trait of his personality has remained, and perhaps even intensified, even after the most recent events of the franchise. After the end of the Granola saga, there was a time skip of approximately 2 years until the events of the superhero saga. This interval is fertile ground for speculation and well-founded assumptions. It is practically impossible to imagine Goku simply resting or settling down. He may even take a day or two to eat and enjoy his family, but it is certain that his warrior instinct would not allow him to stay still for long. His mind is always focused on improving his skills, understanding his limits, and, above all, overcoming them. It is worth remembering that, at the end of the Granola saga, Goku was already testing the limits of his Ultra Instinct. With the help of Whis, he began to understand that complete mastery of the technique was not something absolute, but rather something that could vary depending on the user. Whis explained that each being's Ultra Instinct can be unique, and Goku at that moment realized that his path was still incomplete. Thus, it is perfectly plausible that he spent those 2 years immersed in intense training, seeking to adapt Ultra Instinct to his own style. Unlike Vegeta, who seeks power out of pride and the need to protect his race and family, Goku sees evolution as something natural, almost as a vital function. His pure heart and lack of malice make him ideal for mastering divine techniques like Ultra Instinct, but they also make him keep moving forward, even when he has already reached levels that most would never dream of reaching. It is as if stagnation were, for him, a form of death. During this time between sagas, we must also consider that Goku possibly trained with characters other than Whis and Beerus. Beerus's planet and Whis' temple are environments conducive to extreme training, but the Dragon Ball universe is vast, and Goku himself is aware that there are other universes with powerful warriors. He may have traveled, trained with allies like Broly, or even exchanged techniques with Gohan, Piccolo, or even Granola. All of this with the sole purpose of improving his martial art. Goku has a peculiar fascination for strong warriors. He holds no grudges, he does not seek revenge, he wants to understand and overcome. This is evident in his relationship with characters like Frieza, whom he resurrected even after all the evil he had caused, simply because he saw Frieza as a worthy rival. This philosophy also applies to his training. Goku does not train to protect himself, but because he believes that being strong is a way to live a full life. A warrior who is content with his current level, for him, is a warrior who has died inside. Toyotaro himself has made it clear in interviews and chapters of the manga that Goku sees battle as an art, and artists never stop creating. That is why, even during times of peace, even when there are no enemies around, Goku is fighting with himself, whether against his physical limits or against his emotional uncertainties. Ultra Instinct requires a calm mind, but Goku's spirit is restless, and perhaps this is the great paradox that he has spent these 2 years trying to resolve. In addition, there is an important factor: the evolution of his companions. Gohan has awakened his beast form. Piccolo has reached the orange state. Broly is increasingly adapting to his power. Goku, seeing this, would not feel threatened but rather instigated. He respects each of these warriors and above all is inspired by them. If everyone is evolving, he wants to evolve with them, and not out of pride or competition but out of communion. In Dragon Ball, power is a form of language and Goku is fluent in it. Another interesting point is how Goku uses his free time. For him, the concept of rest is relative. A day on Whis' planet is equivalent to months of training. Even a session of meditation or mental combat, something we saw to be useful in controlling Ultra Instinct, is seen by him as a legitimate form of training. Therefore, even if Goku did not lift a single stone with his hands during this period, it is almost certain that his mind and spirit were in constant war with their own limits. We must also consider that the Post-Granola saga Goku is no longer the same Goku from the Majin Buu saga or even the Moro saga. He is wiser, more introspective, and increasingly closer to the levels of existence of beings like the angels. It would not be surprising if he were testing new ways of applying Ultra Instinct, perhaps even combining it with elements of his Saiyan base or integrating it with other techniques he has learned over the years. This search for his own style of combat is something that drives him more than any external enemy. The presence of Pan, his granddaughter, may also have influenced Goku. Seeing her growing up, training with Piccolo, awakening her own potential, may have lit an even more intense flame in him to continue on his path to becoming the best example of a warrior. Perhaps he wants to be ready not only to protect, but also to inspire. He has already inspired Gohan, Vegeta, and even Frieza in a way. Now, perhaps his new role will be that of a living legend for the new generation. If we look at Goku's history, it's impossible to find a time when he was completely still for 2 years. Not even after Cell or Majin Buu did this happen. He always finds a way to evolve, even when the spotlight of history is not on him. And this makes sense. A warrior like him doesn't wait for danger to knock on the door to train. He anticipates, prepares, and molds himself for the unknown. That's why, when we get to the superhero saga, we shouldn't be surprised if Goku is already at another level of power. That's Goku's nature, an indomitable spirit that is never content with the present. He doesn't seek to be the strongest in the universe for status, but because he feels that his destiny is to surpass limits. And as long as there is the sky above him, enemies ahead, or doubts within himself, Goku will continue training, because for him, being a warrior is not a phase, it's his way of being. Based on everything we know about Goku, it is perfectly plausible to imagine that during these 2 years between the Granola saga and the events of Superhero, he not only trained but also developed something even deeper, a new transformation. Not a simple aesthetic change, but a true evolution, a fusion between Ultra Instinct, his divine inheritance acquired through training with Whis, and his purest essence as Saiyan. The emergence of Black Frieza, with his overwhelming power and ability to surpass even Goku and Vegeta in their most advanced forms, served as the ideal trigger for Goku to seek this next step. At the end of the Granola saga, we saw Goku master the so-called True Ultra Instinct, a personalized variation of the technique that incorporates his emotions and his individuality, something that Whis recognized as fundamental for Goku to make autonomous instinct truly his own. But Goku himself knows that this form, despite being powerful, is still imperfect. It represents a huge step forward from the cold and collected Ultra Instinct we saw in the Tournament of Power, but it still doesn't express the peak of a Saiyan's potential, and Goku, being who he is, certainly wouldn't settle for that. Knowing that Frieza had reached a new level with the black form, the result of 10 years of intense training in a time chamber, Goku must have felt challenged, even provoked, but not in an arrogant sense. He does not want to defeat Frieza just to prove he is the strongest. He wants to be able to face any enemy that threatens peace, and he also wants to explore what is deepest within himself. And this motivation would lead him to seek an evolution that, until then, seemed impossible. The harmonization between the angelic instinctual power and the wild fury of the Saiyan blood. Imagine a form in which the mental mastery of Ultra Instinct is complemented by the aggressiveness, impulse, explosive strength, and raw physical resistance of a warrior of the Saiyan race. A transformation that not only dodges without thinking but attacks with ferocity, explodes in speed, and amplifies all the senses of battle. It would be the return to the natural survival instinct of a Saiyan, but refined, shaped by years of divine discipline and honed by experience. It is in this context that the hypothesis of a new form of Goku arises, something that goes beyond Ultra Instinct. We can provisionally call it ultra-primal instinct, a technique that unifies body and mind, reason and emotion, technique and brutality, something that reflects both the absolute calm of an angel and the indomitable passion of a hot-blooded warrior. It would be the first step in the true synthesis between Goku's lineage as a Saiyan and the spiritual path he followed with Whis. This transformation, in fact, could carry physical traits that reflect this union. Perhaps his hair would remain silver, but with dark or even reddish streaks, as a visual representation of the hybrid ki, angelic and Saiyan, that flows through his body. His eyes could alternate between gray and red, and his aura, instead of being merely serene and bright, would pulse like a star, alive, dense, with layers of heat, strength, and precision, something that no previous form has ever managed to manifest with such clarity. Black Frieza will be the perfect catalyst to reveal this form. The villain returned with such overwhelming power that, for a few moments, he completely nullified the superiority of Goku and Vegeta. This generated not only a sense of urgency, but also a genuine incentive for Goku to break through his barriers. He knows that simply repeating the same strategies will not be enough. He needs to transform his own essence. And this would only be possible if he accepted something that he always tried to keep separate: his aggressive Saiyan nature. For a long time, Goku struggled to maintain control, seeking serenity in battles, especially after learning Ultra Instinct. But the time has come to recognize that emotion, fighting instinct, warrior spirit, and even anger, when consciously channeled, can be weapons. The Goku of the future can no longer separate what is divine from what is primal. He needs to be complete, whole, true. Only then will he be able to face enemies who have not only surpassed the limits of strength, but also mastered the darkest aspects of evolution. During his training with Whis, Goku may have discovered ways to improve Ultra Instinct beyond what Whis expected. After all, the angel himself said that each user develops their own style. Goku then may have realized that it is not enough to be fast or unpredictable. You need to be relentless, fierce, and aggressive in the right measure. This philosophical change, this reunion with his Saiyan essence, may have been the necessary step to unleash this new form, which will be revealed at the most critical moment of the battle against Frieza. This new transformation may also represent a response to Gohan Beast's advancement. Goku, upon seeing his son reach such an impressive level, felt the same as he did when he saw Gohan defeat Cell. Not envy, but inspiration. That feeling that power can emerge when it is most needed. Goku does not want to be left behind, much less let his sons and friends carry all the weight alone. He wants to fight alongside them as he always has, but now in an even more complete way. In addition, Broly's presence in this new scenario is also significant. Broly represents the pure instinct of a Saiyan, without divine training, without refined technique, just the raw power of survival and fury. It is likely that Goku learned something from observing or even training with him. Perhaps he understood how to channel this overwhelming force consciously, and this may have influenced his new form, making it even more powerful, more unstable, but dominated by the serenity that only Ultra Instinct can offer. When Goku finally reveals this new transformation, whether in response to a devastating blow from Frieza Black or at the climax of a desperate battle, it will be more than a visual spectacle. It will be the symbol of the character's definitive maturity, a warrior who has united reason and instinct, who has understood that he does not need to be only divine or only savage, but that his true strength lies in accepting and integrating all aspects of who he is. A warrior, a father, a Saiyan, a student, a rival, and above all, a free spirit who has never stopped evolving. If this form really exists, it will not be just a new technique. It will be the conclusion of an entire arc in Goku's journey. The one who has always sought to become stronger will finally understand that true strength comes not only from power, but from the total understanding of oneself. But comment on what you thought of all this, and don't forget to like. Thank you very much for all your support, and see you next time.